So this presentation is on using grouping in Schoology as a means for differentiation. And again, I'm April. So just a little picture of me and a little description of what I basically just said. So our agenda today is talking about how to set up groups in Schoology, looking at the intervention reading groups, like how you can set those up and how you can use individually assigning assignments in Schoology so that only the reading group that you want to see an assignment will see that. And then we'll also talk about supporting English language learners and maybe special education or other special population groups and how we can use that individual assign and grouping as well. So just a little bit of background on kind of where I'm coming from. I work with our intervention department at Goal High School, and I'm specific in math. And so I have worked with trying to figure out the best ways for us to really individualize learning for our students. And this is so using the differentiation within Schoology became kind of a big thing for us because we were like, how are we going to make this the most useful for us, and how can we make sure that students aren't seeing a whole bunch of different assignments, or we're trying to direct them to a certain folder, so we were really trying to make it kind of streamline it for students, but make it easier for teachers as well. And so that's kind of how this came about, where we started using a lot of the grouping and just playing around with how this was going to work best in our classrooms for intervention. And as we've started to use that, of course, we've worked with other departments and we've talked about how they're using it. I work very closely with my colleague who is the reading intervention specialist. And so her and I have talked a lot about how to use this grouping in Schoology to make sure that our students and our staff can access everything. And so those are kind of the essential questions that we're going through. And those are the questions that we asked ourselves when we started going through this. So what are those differentiation needs that we had in our classrooms? And how can Schoology grading groups help address those needs? And so I'm really just showing you a process that we've gone through as a school and just sharing that out so that you can see where that goes with us. I apologize for my dog barking in the background. So just kind of a quick walkthrough on how to set up a grading group in Schoology. I just have some quick snapshots here, but I also want to walk through just some steps that I created. I don't want to go directly into Schoology, mostly because I have students and things like that in there, so I want to protect them. But I did do some screenshots and a walkthrough. So let me go into that. So how to create grading groups. So you just start by going into whichever class that you want to create your grading groups in. And then along the side, clicking on members. And then when you hover over this piece on the left-hand side or the right-hand side, it says add grading group, but before you hover over it, it says organize grading groups. Click on that, create a name. I'll show you as I click through this, I created reading groups. That was just kind of an easier example that I had already set up in a class. And even though I'm math, I was like, oh, I'll use this reading example because it was easy. So I have some test students in here. So I'm just gonna pick the students' names that I want to go into those groups and then create the grading group. So then you'll see it now appear on the right-hand side. And I repeat this process a couple of times because I do have 3 reading groups. I have my blue group, my yellow group, and my green group. So same process, creating those groups. And you can put students into more than one group, which is great. And I'll show you some other ways that we've used grouping, and that's really helpful. So now I have my 3 groups set up in there, and now I can utilize that to my benefit. So I'm going to go back to PowerPoint and kind of walk through some of that. So you can see my blue, my yellow, my green. When I played around with this, I only have 2 test students. And so I went ahead and put test student 2 in 2 groups. And that's just kind of an example. So you can see that students can be in more than one group, which is really nice. Obviously, that might not be great for reading, but just as an example, you can see that. And so when I look at my members list, you can see that here, this is the members list. It actually shows me underneath their name what group they're in. So that helps me double check. Did I make sure everybody got into a group? And did I make sure that everybody they're in the correct group? So once I start to develop my content, I know that my blue, yellow, and green reading groups are different reading levels. And I don't want to give them the same article. I may give them some of these same assignments. So you can see here is a screenshot of just some assignments that my students might see during a week. So on Wednesday, I have them doing an assignment that isn't really reliant on their reading level. It's something that they all can do at all levels. On Thursdays, I have an open tutoring session, and on Fridays, I have them doing another assignment. But on Tuesday, I have them reading an article, and I have specifically chosen articles that are at those different reading levels. So now I've labeled it blue, yellow, green article, so I know who gets what. And then I can go into Schoology and individually assign those things. So I'll go back into here and I will kind of walk you through what that looks like as well. So once you've built all of your activities, you know what you want to assign students, you know where it's at. I get it organized in my folder in my class so that I know where everything is at, that it's organized. And then I go in and I do these steps. So I click on the little gear icon there, and that will allow me to click edit. And then from there, at the very bottom, it's those 3 little dots. And you don't always know what they are in Schoology until you hover over them. But when you hover over it, it does say individually assigned. And that's where the grading groups come in. So now I can click on that, and that assign to button kind of shows up there, and I can type in my grading group. So I just started typing blue, and my blue reading group came up, so I can click on it. And now they're assigned that assignment. So my blue article is now assigned to my blue reading group. And I just click Save Changes. So I'll walk through the other 3 just to kind of show you the process is really the same for each one. Click on that individual assign button at the bottom, and then start typing in your group. So this one is my yellow group. So now my yellow group has access to their article. And then I'll do the same with my green reading group. So now all of my assignments have been assigned to my reading groups. So we can see that each one now says one group underneath. So that assures me that each group now has been assigned their article, and I haven't missed any, which is great. Like you can see under these other assignments that these are not specific to groups, that everyone can see them. And so we don't see that group icon there. So that assures me that the students are going to see the assignments that I need them to see.